Hi, this is Marian. I'm here in my living room and I wanted to talk about books today. I have a bunch of books that I want to read. Um, and yeah, I wanted to share some of them with you guys. So I have a bunch of Haruki Murakami, who is my favorite writer of all time. And these are 4 books that I haven't read, like, at all. So this is Murakami Birthday Stories. I think this book is a collection of short stories that are not written by him, but that he personally likes. And so I'm excited to read that because I want to know what he reads and what he likes because he's like my favorite person. I also got Hear the Wind Sing, and Pinball 1973. I read the first one, which I think must be Hear the Wind Sing. And yeah, and I gotta read the second part because this is basically 2 books in one. And this is the first work he ever wrote and he ever published. So I'm excited to finish that. I've never read Blind Willow and Sleeping Woman. If I remember correctly, this is also a collection of short stories, but these aren't written by him. And I love his short stories. They're really interesting. And finally, I've got 1Q84. This is a very thick and fat book that I have not finished. I think I've tried to read it like maybe twice, and I'm always like just exhausted by like the time I get to half of it. But this time, when I start reading it, I'm gonna go in with the right mindset that I have to finish it. And then I also got Enigma Variations by Andre Aceman. This is the author of Call Me By Your Name that I've read and I loved. And so I wanted to start this a while ago. I just hadn't gotten a chance to buy it. And now with the pandemic and the new year, I decided that it was finally time to read it. So that's going to be one of the books I'm going to read next week, I think. And also, I wanted to read Taylor Jenkins Reid's After I Do. This is the author of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I love that book. That was one of my favorite books last year. So I want to read another book by her. She's so good at what she does. Her writing is beautiful, and everything I read was beautifully done. So I'm really excited. And then I also got these 2 books by Banana Yoshimoto. I basically have her whole collection of books that have been translated into English. But here I have Banana Yoshimoto's Amrita, and I also have Moshi Moshi. And these are the ones I haven't read by her. I recently just finished Lizard. That was the first book I read in 2021. Today is the 4th, so I think I read that on the 1st of January of 2021. And I finished it in like one sitting, and it was beautiful. I loved it. And then I also got Yukio Mishima's his masterpiece. I got Spring Snow, Runaway Horses, and the Temple of Dawn. I still have to get the 4th book, but I want to read these first and make sure I like them before I get the 4th book. And then I finally got 7 Japanese Tales by Junichiro Tonisaki. That was one of the writers that I talked about last time when I was talking about the Penguin book of Japanese short stories. That was one of the writers that I really wanted to read and delve more into, and so I finally got one of his books. And I think these are also short stories. I think most of the things he writes are short stories. So yeah, let's see how that goes. And then you know, I also got a lot of classics here. I got Little Women by Louise May Alcott. I actually watched the movie, the new one that I seen the movie, and I really wanted to read the book, so I gotta, get into this. I've noticed that I have to be in like some kind of mood to read classics, so I need to wait for that mood to come around. And I also got 1984 by George Orwell. I read this book maybe twice in my life. I read it in high school and I think my second year of university, and it's a really good book, especially now with the new lockdowns and everything. It's really cool to read about how back in the day, like, people thought about being like watched and having a lot of rules put upon them, and seeing how that compares to now. And so I'm really excited to read that again. I remember that Animal Farm and 1984 were huge books when I was in high school that we were, basically forced to read. And I think I liked Animal Farm, but I hated reading it because, like, we would basically read it in class, and I just hated reading out loud. But the plot and just the writing was amazing, and so I want to read Animal Farm too. But I'm gonna start with 1984 because this is one of the main classics that I really like. And then so I got a lot of books here. This is my living room's little bookshelf, but those are the ones that I wanted to talk about. Another one I want to talk about is Natsume Soseki's books. I read I read, I think, 2 of his books. I read Kokoro, and I think I read Pochan. Kokoro is amazing. I cried, I laughed, I was extremely upset, I was extremely happy. It was just a beautiful story. It's basically a tragedy, but it's a beautiful story. And so I wanted to read other books by him. I know that people really recommended Sanshiro and Kusamakura, and so I got those 2. And then I know that a lot of like YouTubers talk about I Am a Cat by Soseki, and I also got that one, so I got those 3 here. And so yeah, I'm excited to read these 3 just because I know that I dropped one of my books. Just because I know that he's one of the main like big Japanese writers, and as everyone knows, I love Japanese literature, so I'm really excited about that. And then I finally, I was at this secondhand store, and I was just looking at their books, and suddenly I see that they have The Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu. And if you don't know this, this book was basically one of the first books ever written, if not Japan, but in also the world. And I think this is like a edited version, like it doesn't have all the stories, but I heard it's a beautiful tale. It's really long, but I got I think an edited version, and I got it for like $4. Like, I was completely shocked because I always wanted to rent it from the library, but it was never available. Like, people always had it. And if you want to buy like one of the actual books, like the full version or the non-edited version, I think it costs like $40-$50. And so to get an edited version for this price, and try to read it and see if I really like it, and if I want to read the whole thing, is like such a good thing. So yeah, sorry, I have a cold, so it's hard for me to talk. It's just a cold. I got tested. It's just a cold. So yeah, so I want to talk about those. I do have a bunch of here, but I can talk about them later when I start reading them. If you guys want to know what it looks like this. It's very small. I have one that looks the same, like it's exactly the same bookshelf in my room, and I got another one for down here. So what I've been doing is that I've been putting books that I've actually already read upstairs in my room, and then books that I want to read and that I haven't read downstairs. it's just a easier thing to do for me, because then, you know, I have like a list of books that I want to read like this week or next month, or books I want to read this year, maybe not this year. I mean, I have a lot of books here. These must be over 40 books, so you know, you can't read over 40 books in a week. So I have a list. Currently I'm reading Snow Country by Yasunari Kawabata. This is a Japanese classic, and this was the Nobel Prize winner. It's really good. I was expecting more action. It's mostly a lot of talking and about like the vibe of the moment and like the scenery. And then after this one, I'm gonna read Pearl by John Steinbeck. This is a classic, an American classic. So that's a Japanese classic. This is an American classic. So reading classics today, and then tomorrow I'll read just a modern fiction, maybe a romance. Yeah. So this is all for today. I'll keep you guys updated. Bye.